Get in the car.
That was a very dangerous maneuver.
This used to be how most people thought of Robert Pattinson. However, you can't keep a good heartthrob down. The young actor who quickly became a sex icon for a generation would reinvent himself through critically acclaimed indie darlings and big-budget studio projects alike into being one of the biggest stars on the planet. And the film that this fiery career rebirth can be linked back to just might surprise you.
If I can't change things here, if I can't have an effect, I don't care what happens to me.
Before we get too deep into today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe to Nerdstalgic in order to stay up to date with everything we've got going on. Every great artist is forced to walk two paths at once. One leads down a direction of artistic fulfillment, the other manifests in commercial viability. Occasionally, these two roads lead to the same direction. However, usually, they are diametrically opposed. This crucible is something that all performers must navigate. However, few have done it in quite as unusual a way as Robert Pattinson. He initially rose to cultural prominence through his turn as Cedric Diggory in the 2005 film The Goblet of Fire. Sure, he appeared in supporting roles in small projects as a child, but it would be the stage that Potter granted him that would make everyone sit up and take notice.
For a moment there, I thought you were gonna let it get me. For a moment, so did I.
However, it would be 3 years later in 2008 that Pattinson would get his big break portraying Edward Cullen in the Twilight film series. Initially produced off a measly budget of $37 million, the film netted over $400 million at the box office and instantly propelled Kristen Stewart, Taylor Lautner, and Pattinson to international superstardom. Despite always keeping one foot in the indie sphere during this time with projects like Little Ashes, Love and Distrust, and Water for Elephants, it would be Twilight that would govern most of the next half-decade of Pattinson's career. From New Moon to Eclipse to the two-part finale Breaking Dawn, the franchise would firmly pigeonhole Pattinson as a teen heartthrob, sparkly vampire, and a wooden performer. At this point, Pattinson was something of a cultural punchline.
Hi, I'm Robert Pattinson. And sometimes when things bother me, I climb up in my little tree.
The Twilight films were looked down upon by wide swaths of movie-going public, and Pattinson made a delineated career choice. He wanted to be involved in artistically adventurous work. All throughout the multiple press tours of Twilight, Pattinson made it very clear he was not a fan of the franchise, the characters, or Stephenie Meyer's writing.
There's a lot of stuff in the Twilight world that doesn't make any sense. It's like, why are they still going to high school?
He wanted to be involved in smaller, more character-oriented projects, films that would allow him to push into more artistically fulfilling areas. And when you have the millions of dollars that the Twilight franchise netted him, you get to do that. In 2014, he had two projects debut. A futuristic western titled The Rover and Maps to the Stars, a satirically oriented Hollywood takedown picture directed by David Cronenberg, the latter of which won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival that year. Suddenly, Pattinson wasn't just a pretty face who had headlined a trashy YA vampire franchise. He was someone who had a real artistic presence, and someone who indie productions could cast who had enough name recognition to actually get their project financed. That, right there, is a winning combination. Was he accepted on a mainstream level? No, but within the who's who of the industry, he was re-cementing his reputation and displaying his capabilities. Following in rapid succession, Pattinson made Queen of the Desert, Life, and the slightly bigger budgeted The Lost City of Z, where he grew a beard and lost 35 pounds for his supporting role. However, it would be his next film, the neo-noir project Good Time, that would truly rebrand Pattinson and give him an escape velocity.
You're incredible, do you understand?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. You guys could have done that without you standing next to me being strong.
No.
You feeling this?
As further testament to Pattinson's passion and drive to rebrand himself as something other than the face of the Twilight movies, the story of how he became involved in Good Times is highly unusual. One night, while surfing the internet, the young star happened across a still from an unreleased movie titled Heaven Knows What. It struck a chord with him. He tracked down the directors, having never seen any of their work, and suggested that they work together.
I get very fixated on people I want to work with.
At the time, the Safdie brothers were attempting to make a movie about the Diamond District in New York that would later become Uncut Gems. However, when Pattinson reached out to them, they quickly realized that they needed to write something specifically for him.
And I said, I want to do whatever you guys are doing next, I want to do it. And I remember Josh saying, do you mean that? Because I'll have a script in 6 weeks.
The resulting film is a stripped-down thriller about a low-level criminal attempting to scrape together bail money to prevent his developmentally disabled brother from going to a maximum security prison. The film's pulsing score, dynamic camera work, and gritty aesthetic were a hit with audiences and critics alike. However, it was Pattinson's acting and his commitment to the role that took center stage. During the press tour for the film, Pattinson and the Safdie brothers repeatedly told stories where they would take Pattinson out in public. His hair dyed blonde and role-play with him. They went to an auto body shop, they ate at Dunkin' Donuts, and they even worked for a day at a car wash, all the while totally in character.
He got this experience of what it's like to be hanging out with your friends, but also have this kind of person with you who doesn't necessarily belong and isn't included in the group.
Benny Safdie would perform publicly as his mentally handicapped character, forcing Pattinson to react and interact with people in his American accent to diffuse situations. The goal of these performances was to accurately replicate what it would feel like to have a long-standing relationship with someone who you're completely responsible for, to instill in both actors a sense of weighted history. The connection between the two performers is evident in the finished film.
My brother is mentally handicapped. The bucket of paint fell off a construction truck and hit him on the head. I'm gonna come out in 1 second. It's an emergency, all right? Please just give me 5 minutes.
Pattinson truly feels like a man at the end of his rope. His animalistic frustration and lived-in anxiety don't feel like a performance. They feel like a document of real-world trauma. Good Time positioned Pattinson as a creative force to be taken seriously in critical circles and on a mainstream level. The film, produced on a budget of $2 million, was a breakout hit.
Look, losers like you are incapable of taking care of themselves. You're either leeching off mommy, or leeching off welfare, or living off the government in jail. That's you!
You don't know the first thing about me, bro.
This, paired with his 2019 film The Lighthouse, legitimized Pattinson in a way that could never have been predicted. Yes, of course, people knew him as the guy from the Twilight movies, but Pattinson's genuine commitment to the craft of acting and a passion for pursuing artistically avant-garde projects manifested in a near-complete reversal of how he was perceived. He went from being a pretty face into becoming one of the most respected actors of a generation.
The Queen of England's old fancy housekeeper couldn't even done no better than what I done, because I tell you, I scrubbed this here place twice over.
And I say you did nothing of the sort.
This led to 2020. The year Pattinson appeared in Christopher Nolan's Tenet, and he was cast in a new Batman project. Released in 2022, The Batman was one of the most critically acclaimed and widely beloved superhero movies released that year. And Pattinson's shamanic and ghost-like performance in the film was heralded as a bold new interpretation of the iconic nocturnal vigilante.
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
This casting was a direct reflection of Pattinson's work over the past 5 years, a surprising payoff for his interest in exploring the bizarre and the unusual. Cultural reinvention is the most difficult task any actor has, to shed the skin of the person they've been performing as and develop a new persona, to pivot and evolve as an artist. Very few creative people can manifest this in their career, let alone when you're at the top of a financial hill and could easily ride the typecasting gravy train and never have to work a day in your life. But that's not what Pattinson did. He chose to walk both paths, be mindful of the commercial realities of his work, but never let them dictate his artistic decisions. And that's all we have for today for this episode of Nerdstalgic. What do you think? Is there another leading man who has successfully reimagined their image that's even more impressive than Pattinson? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this one.